I'm not a craftsman by any means, but I do know what I like in a camper van. And that's my 1987 Westfalia. What I like is the seat that swivels, the kitchen area with cabinets, and a bench that turns into a bed. Well, this is your basic 2000 Chevy Astro van with typical crappy hood paint. But a nice thing about it is it's in really good shape. It is all-wheel drive, and it's been lifted, so it has really good ground clearance, and that really comes in handy with my camping interests. So this video isn't about how to build anything, but it is to show you the elements I borrowed from the Westfalia and how I incorporated them into the smaller space of the Chevy Astro van. There are some excellent Astrovan conversion videos showing great craftsmanship, amazing carpentry and such, but they're really above my skill level. I think most people's too. And there's really little information about the layout I wanted, so I had to do a lot of planning myself. I made this video to share the approach to a pretty straightforward conversion that fits really a basic craftsmanship level. Early on in the project, I installed the solar panel and the vent fan so wires could be run on the insulation and under the wall panel. Placement of the components hinged on where the vent fan was going to be installed. I'll show you more about that when we get into the interior. I used the largest narrow solar panel I could find, and so that it allowed room to for my rocket box if I wanted to install that. Okay, so here's how it turned out. Chair that turns around, swivels, a kitchen with a refrigerator, cabinets, and a bench that turns into a bed. Let's take a look at the refrigerator. It took me a long time to get away from the idea of using a three-way refrigerator like the one in Westy, but this one is fully electric, only uses about 1 amp hour. And keeps food very cold. In this case, it's sitting here at about 34 degrees. And my solar power is more than adequate to keep this thing working for a long time. It's got really nice storage in it. It's lit. When I built it in so that it plugs in the back so that I can remove it if I want to, or when I want to. And it's surrounded by wood walls that have an extra ½ inch of insulation. I made sure that the walls of the refrigerator had openings to fully vent the rear of the refrigerator. However, unconvinced that the built-in fan is adequate to provide enough air circulation, I added an additional really low current fan in the back. Let's look behind the driver's seat. That auxiliary refrigerator cooling fan is here behind the driver's seat, and it's controlled by a thermocouple behind the refrigerator and set here to automatic, off, or I can turn it on if I feel I just want it on. My choice of kitchen here is one for size and convenience, but it's pretty nice. It's a single burner with a faucet and sink. And I'm using these 1-pound propane bottles. I went through a lot of thought about using much larger bottles, but I really only use very little propane the way I camp. Under the sink is a regulator for the 190-watt solar panel on the roof. It's a 35 amp DC-DC regulator that provides charge to this 100 amp hour lithium phosphate battery, and also the starting battery. Does a really good job. There's a cover for all this that I haven't finished building yet. This light is actually an afterthought. It's a magnetic LED light that snaps on there nicely. I did a crappy job of cutting out that steel. It's a piece of leftover steel from the roof vent. I really needed to put some brains in this van, so I built this little box to show me the auxiliary battery and starting battery voltages. But I also added a little Arduino, I think it's a Nano, in this case, to tell me what the water levels are. And in this case, the tank is basically empty. I'm really happy with this ceiling fan. So many people, so many videos showed people cutting through one or two of the ceiling beams, the roof beams, to install a standard 14-inch fan, and I don't get that. I mean, the loss of integrity did not please me. So I've got this, I think it's called a RecPro 11-inch fan that is more than adequate to evacuate probably 2 times the volume of this van in 1 minute. So really, it's quite excellent. And I installed a little speed controller just because I like to have just a faint bit of air sometimes moving through. Designing and then building these cabinets was a real issue for me. However, they worked out anyway. I'm quite satisfied. Just the three-dimensionality of the interior of the van itself made it difficult. But I like the layout, and I can put a lot of things in here. The hinges are more than adequate to keep these doors shut on bumpy roads, especially with the felt pads on the doors. Planning for this bed took me so much work. It was probably the hardest thing of everything here, getting measurements right, but it's worth it. It makes a nice bed. Oh yeah. One of the tasks in making this bed was learning how to do upholstery. Well, it wasn't that hard really. There's some good videos out there on how to do it. The bed is elevated, so there's storage space underneath for the full length, but also inside under the bench. The back end of the van just doesn't look very pretty, but you know what? I don't care. I used 2x4s that I already had to make the bed support, so it works. Underneath is a 2 kilowatt diesel heater that is quite sufficient at heating this entire van on a cold night. I may or may not cover that heat tubing. I don't know. I'll think about it. And over here behind this is a 13-gallon polyethylene water tank. And here's the water pump. Kind of need to get a longer tube there, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about that for a little while. You can also see behind the back of at the back of the tank is the wiring for the water level sensors. Friends ask me if I'm drinking enough water, but I tell them this is my diesel fuel tank. And I ran the tubing inside and under the van through chassis steel to the fuel pump. Time to load up the bike. Sure, I sacrificed some bed width with this design, but I like having my bike on board, and the plan was to build some extensions for the bed that I could add when I don't bring my bike. This van already has real nice interior lighting with these spotlights. Thing is, I don't like spotlights beaming down on me all the time, so I put in some lights above the cabinets that are kind of nice. Got a little controller here. Oh yeah, I got a little green going. Kind of wraps around the back so it's not staring you right in the face. Make that white. The Astro van does not have a way to exit from the rear, from inside. So one of the first things I did was install this magic button here to exit. And finally, there's some nifty little features here. Here's a hook that was inside the van. Use it to hold my backpack. And then an essential clip for the essential shovel. And then a little place for a walking stick. This is a little place to fill up the water tank. Well, it's only been a few days since I started this video, and look what happened. But at least it's kind of warm inside. Well, it's not too bad in here. It's about 54 degrees. Had the heater on for about an hour. It's 18 degrees outside, so this isn't too bad. I mean, this isn't my kind of camping weather, but it works. So I'm happy, and I hope you've been able to get some tips out of this video. Cheers.